Good morning, everyone. In yesterday's lecture, we had discussed about the Indian desert and the coastal plains. Today, we'll just have a brief review of whatever we have studied today. The Indian desert. The Indian desert lies towards the western margins of the Aravalli Hills. It is a sandy plain covered with sand dunes. This region receives very low rainfall, below 150 mm per year. It has a dry climate with low vegetation cover. Now, this is the map of India showing the Indian desert. These are your Aravalli ranges, right? This is your river, Luni River, and this yellow portion, if you see, this yellow portion is the Great Indian Desert, also known as the Thar Desert. Now let's have certain interesting facts about the desert of India. Desert facts. The Indian desert is mainly inhabited by Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs. A colorful culture rich in tradition prevails in the desert. The people have a great passion for music and poetry, right? Rajasthani folk songs and folk dances, they are famous all across the world. The colorful culture, the rich heritage of Rajasthan, it's famous all across the world. People, the tourists from all across the world, when they visit India, Rajasthan is their top priority. The main occupation of the people in the desert is agriculture and animal husbandry. The living standard of the people in the desert is low. Camels play a very important role in the desert life as well as desert festival. Camels are also known as the safari of the desert or the desert safari. Coastal plain. A coastal plain is a flat, low-lying piece of land next to the ocean to east and west of the peninsular plateau. Two narrow strips of plain lands are found, which are respectively called Eastern Coastal Plain and Western Coastal Plains. Eastern Coastal Plains and your Western Coastal Plains lying on the east and west side of the peninsular plateau. These are your Eastern and Western Coastal Plains. Eastern Coastal Plains. The Eastern Coastal Plain is a wide stretch of the land mass lying between the Eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal. In the northern part, it is referred to as the Northern Sarkar, while the southern part is known as the Coromandel Coast. Large rivers such as the Mahanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna and the Kaveri, which are the important rivers in South India, right, have formed extensive delta on this coast. Now, what is a delta? Your delta is a wet land area, right, which is formed by the deposition of all the sediments which are carried by your major rivers. And the major rivers which we are talking about here are your Mahanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna and the Kaveri. Lake Chilika is an important feature along the eastern coast. Now what you will do is, class, you will write down the important features of Lake Chilika and how it is formed. How Lake Chilika is formed. And you will also write about what a delta is and how a delta is formed. Now this is the image of coastal plain which we have already discussed. Western Coastal Plain. The western coast is sandwiched between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea. It is a narrow plain and it consists of three sections as mentioned below. The northern part is called the Konkan. The central stretch is called the Kannad Plain. The southern stretch is referred to as the Malabar Coast. Now let's have a review of the map which shows the eastern and western coastal plains of India. Now these are your with eastern and western Ghats. This line, it is sandwiched. It is sandwiched between your eastern and western Ghats, right? Eastern Ghats and western Ghats. These are your coastal plains. This is your northern Sarkar, Coromandel coast. Northern part, southern part is known as the Coromandel coast. This is your Konkan coast, Goan coast, and your Malabar coast. So this is how the coastal plains of India are divided. We'll have a detailed review of it. Now, this was the homework which I had given you yesterday. Now, moving on to what islands are. An island is a piece of subcontinental land that is surrounded by water from all the sides. Lakshadweep Island group is composed of small coral islands which were earlier known as Lakadive, Minicoy, and Amindive. The entire group of islands is divided into two broad categories: the Andaman in the north, the Nicobar in the south. These islands lie close to the equator and experience equatorial climate and have thick forest cover of India. Now this is the map. The Lakshadweep and the Minicoy Island in the Arabian Sea, the Andaman and Nicobar Island in the Bay of Bengal. Right? These are the two islands of India, the Andaman and Nicobar Island and your Lakshadweep and Minicoy Islands. Now, points to remember. The diverse physical features of India have immense future possibilities of development because of the following reasons. The mountains are the major sources of water and forest wealth. The northern plains are the granaries of the country. They provide the base for early civilizations. The plateau is a storehouse of minerals which has played a crucial role in the industrialization of India. The coastal region and island groups provide sites for fishing and port activities. Now, it is the difference between your western Ghats and your eastern Ghats. The western Ghats are situated and mark the western edges of Deccan Plateau parallel to the western coast of India along the Arabian Sea. Continuous, can be crossed through the passes only. The western Ghats are higher than the eastern Ghats. The height increases progressively from north to south. The highest peak includes Anaimudi and Doda Belta. The western Ghats enclose a narrow strip between its western slopes and the Arabian Sea, which is known as Western Coastal Plain, which we have discussed. Its maximum width is 64 km. It experiences orographic rain mostly in summer due to summer monsoons. The climate is hot and moist. Here, the soil is highly fertile. Rice, spices, rubber, and fruits like coconuts, cashew nuts, etc. are grown. The eastern Ghats are situated and mark the eastern edges of Deccan Plateau parallel to the eastern coast of India along the Bay of Bengal. Discontinuous, irregular, and dissected by rivers draining into the Bay of Bengal. Average elevation is 600 meters. The highest peak include the Mahendragiri, the Jawadi Hills. The eastern Ghats also enclose a strip of land between its eastern slopes and the Bay of Bengal, which is known as the eastern and coastal plain. It is wider than the western coastal strip with its maximum breadth 120 km. It receives rain both in summer and winter, especially in winter through winter monsoons. However, here the rain is lesser than the western strip. The soil is not as fertile as western strip. Rice, groundnuts, cotton, tobacco, coconuts, etc. are grown here. Now this is the map showing Eastern and Western Ghats. And the area which is left, that is your Eastern and Western coastal plains. Now this is your homework. Draw cutouts of the islands of India explaining the importance of each major physiographic division of India. And if any query is there, class, you are free to ask me on your WhatsApp group. Thank you.